Shanti. Did everybody leave yesterday's meeting content and happy? Yes? Good. Baba prepares us for any scene in the drama, and I know that we came expecting that Dadi Gulzar would have reached Madhuban and she would be rested and she would be with us, and another scene in drama. And in fact, until the day before, we really didn't know whether Dadi was going to come or not. And then of course we heard finally that no, she's not coming. But even with the interaction, we didn't know whether that was going to happen until yesterday lunchtime. That wasn't a fixture, because it depends on how Dadi is at the moment, and so that happened. So we had a powerful Murli yesterday morning, yesterday evening, another very powerful Murli, and then we saw the beautiful interaction of the Dadis, so Baba really filled our hearts completely. So it was very much Baba present with us, not just Dadi Gulzar present with us through the video, but really the presence of Baba was with us in a very big way. And what touches me about yesterday's Murli in the evening was the speed with which Baba was bringing in more and more concepts, just one after another, after another, after another, after another. And so it was a rich feast we received. And even that very opening statement in which Baba spoke about the account of accumulation and 3 different ways of accumulation, Baba just rolled it off. Number 1, number 2, number 3. But it's actually just those 3 aspects of the different accounts. And if we were to think deeply about these and practice these, that's it. Baba said, then you would feel very cheerful, very happy. Your face would reflect that happiness, but also you would feel yourself to be very, very fortunate. And so let's explore those first 3 aspects of the accounts that Baba mentioned. And so I remember hearing this Murli, and at that time, not yesterday, but whenever it was, and at that time I thought, it sounds very similar, but it's different, and I need time to digest it. And afterwards, reflecting on it, it became clear exactly what Baba was talking about. And then, of course, when you reflected on it, it's much easier to manage. And so the first one, Baba spoke about the accumulation of elevated reward through your own personal effort. Yeah, everything is effort on the path of Gyan. And then the second one, Baba talked about the accumulation of blessings through being content and giving contentment to others. And the third one, Baba spoke about the account of charity through doing good things with your mind, your words, your actions, your relationships, your connections. And as I say, when you first hear these, it all sounds very much of the sameness. It's accumulation, and then just a little bit of reflection, and you see that it's actually 3 very, very different categories that Baba's talking about. And the first, personal effort. And my understanding of that is, to what extent am I actually practicing on an inner level soul consciousness, the detachment from the body, the stage of being able to be the observer of the self, and to be able to keep my consciousness in that highest level that Baba would want me to have, that I want to have. To be able on that inner level again to keep that connection with Baba, so that I feel Baba's protection, Baba's support, Baba's help, Baba's company, Baba's companionship all the time. And so it's really the inner effort that you're making. And so Baba talking about the elevated reward of that inner work, the inner effort. And sometimes we talk about this inner work, and more than Brahmins, I hear people outside talk about this aspect of inner work. Baba sometimes says it's very easy, sometimes says it's very difficult, and it's both. And it can be very easy, just keep following Srimad, do exactly what Baba wants you to do, very easy. But somehow we don't quite manage it. We don't manage the soul consciousness, we don't manage the connection with Baba as much as we'd like to, and that's when the challenges keep coming and the obstacles become big and we're not able to deal with them and so on. So Baba's not contradicting himself when he's saying it's easy and it's difficult, but Baba makes it easy for us and we make it difficult for ourselves sometimes. But this inner work, we don't like using this term work for ourselves in Brahman life, but it is actually a lot of things that need to happen in here which only I can do for myself. People ask for tips. Well, every Murli has a lot of tips. People ask for quick fixes. And if you just were to practice the blessing that Baba gives us every day, that would be amazing, just in itself. But to what extent am I doing that inner work? And the inner work is, yes, soul consciousness and God consciousness. That's the most basic and most powerful. This is why later on in the Murli, Baba spoke about the mantra, the yantra that gives you results. So man-mana bhav. So that connection with Baba is everything. But yet also to be able to see where it is I need to change. What is my consciousness? What is my awareness? And can I switch my awareness from whatever mundane consciousness and awareness it's been to a higher level? And if I do that, my attitude is going to change, my vision is going to change, and everything else around me is then going to change accordingly. And so to be able to see the self as the detached observer and see what's going on and be able to adjust whatever it is I need to check and change and keep that consciousness as high as I want it. And so I think that's the inner effort, the elevated reward coming from my own personal inner effort. So that no 2 days are the same. What I was yesterday, I shouldn't be that today. What I was this morning, between the morning and now, many things have happened, and I should have learned from each encounter, each situation, so that I'm progressing and moving forward. And it also explains to me one thing about why it is that Brahmins get bored. Sometimes Daddy used to tell us in London in early days, she doesn't understand this word bored. And especially for Brahmins, she says there's so much that you need to do inside and outside. There's no time to get bored. If you're sitting around doing nothing, twiddling your thumbs, then you say, well, what can I do? I'm bored. But for Brahmins, there's so much that needs to happen in here, and so much in terms of connecting with Baba and actually having fun with God. Can you imagine? This is what somebody told her, that a priest said to Dadi when she'd been talking about the different relationships with God. A priest told Dadi, that I haven't seen anyone have so much fun with God as you do. And she said, but of course, he's my friend, he's my companion. So a lot to happen in here that doesn't allow any space for boredom. But if I'm not doing that inner effort, that's when I get the sense of being stuck. But I've created that stuckness, that stagnation for myself, because I'm not using the Gyan that Baba's giving me. And this has absolutely nothing to do with anyone else outside or any external situation out there. It's me and the way I use Baba's knowledge and play with it and play with Baba and do what I need to do to be able to progress and change. You know, some people say, I need to move to be able to have a different experience. Well, you can, but within a week, a month, a year, you'll be back in the same space and say, you know, I need to move again. So we think that external change is going to bring about a different experience, but not true. It's the inner work and that inner personal effort that keeps the soul moving forward and allows itself to grow. So that was one aspect. The second aspect, blessings. And the way to earn blessings, am I able to keep myself content? And it's not enough to say, well, I'm content, I don't know what anybody else is doing. I'm okay. No. I have to be content, yes, for sure. But am I able to get a certificate of contentment from others around me? Can they say that, yes, I'm giving them contentment? And if I'm not, then I have to ask myself the question, why not? And you know how sometimes so the first is just me and myself. And the second is relationships. And so it's a formula we've often used to tell people outside that, well, what are your priorities? It's not just a question of balancing everything, but it's a question of getting your priorities right. And so Baba's telling us this first is your personal effort priority. Second is relationships, and within that, creating contentment within myself. And if I feel I'm moving forward continually, I'm going to feel very content. And if I feel that I'm getting stuck, and then I point the finger outwards at this one or that one or the other one, that's when I'll say, well, you know, it's their fault. And this is why I'm not so happy. But no. First step, go back to first principles, me and my relationship with myself and with God. And then relationships, yes, I'll be content with myself when I see myself progressing. But secondly, if I am content, it's much, much easier to give contentment to others around me. Put it the other way, if I'm discontent, can I make anyone else content? It's not a possibility. It really isn't. You can struggle and try, but it's not going to work. It has to be that I create contentment within myself first. Then my interaction with others is going to be one in which there's a natural, easy flow of energy. And if I've given somebody contentment, they're going to give me blessings from their heart. And the beautiful thing about that is that it's nothing to do with conducting classes, reading the Murli to the class, or giving lectures. These things are not related to any of that. How do I make another soul content? Maybe by giving them a little bit of time to listen to what's going on. Maybe I see they need a helping hand with their suitcase. Can be as simple as that. And they'll say, I'm giving you blessings from my heart because you helped me when I needed my help the most. So whatever it is, little things, big things maybe, but let me find ways to be able to give contentment to those who are around me. And I think it works like that. First, it has to be the intimate circle that I'm with. I can't say, well, they're like that, and so they're always like that, and they're never going to be content. No. If I'm content and I find a way, you see, everybody's got a soft handle and a rough handle. And different people trigger different responses. And so here's a person, and with this individual, this person's gentle and loving. And with me, how come she's not gentle and loving with me? Well, I haven't found the right handle through which to approach her. And so let me find the way in which to be able to get a response which is a positive one. So that's up to me, to be detached and clear and discerning so that I can understand how to approach another and give them contentment. And at one point, Daddy Kumaris said to Baba, this would have been in the 90s, the early 90s, and she said, but Baba, there are some souls who are never content. And it was in the days of Om Shanti Bhavan, and so very close encounter between Baba. The stage of Om Shanti Bhavan is smaller than this stage. You know, you can jump on it. Here, not many people could make a jump on this stage, but you can on the Om Shanti Bhavan stage. And Baba used to be on the gaddi and so close, so very close. And so Baba's having this chat with Daddy, and she's saying, there are people who will never be content, Baba. And Baba gives her drishti and smiles and says, Baba gives permission for 5%. If 95% of the people you're with are content with you, Baba will say, pass. But it shouldn't be that it's more than 5% who are discontent with you. Then Baba will say something more has to be done by you. Not just that, okay, never mind, but 5% okay. So Baba gives us permission for that little margin. But if I've given someone contentment, they give me blessings from their heart. And another little formula that Baba has sometimes said, that in terms of effort, sometimes it's actually only 10% of your personal effort. 40% is blessings from others, and 50% is help from Baba. And so blessings from others go a long way. And so let me see if I can accumulate the account of blessings. And of course, if I've caused actively, if I've done something that's caused displeasure, discontent to another, how does that work? It really doesn't work very well for my happiness or my feeling of fortune. It goes the other way. And so let me do my best not to create any discontent, but rather very consciously to create contentment in another. And then the third one, and the two key words for me, charity, but also altruistic service. Accumulate the account of charity through unlimited altruistic thoughts, words, actions, relationships, connections. Unlimited. Which means if I say I'm doing Mansa Seva for my husband to come to Baba, for my daughter, my son, my wife, this one, that one, and the other one, well, I don't think that's so unlimited. And neither do I think it's altruistic. So when Baba's talking about Mansa Seva, the mind really has to be very clean and it has to be unlimited, with no motive for myself. And incognito, I'll never know the impact of Mansa Seva, just sending out Baba's light in an unlimited way to whoever it is who's in need and whoever's ready to accept it. Somebody's got their curtains drawn. They're not letting the light in. The sun is shining, but they're not allowing the light to come in. So what can you do? But if there's somebody who's got not just the curtains open, but also they've got the windows open, they're waiting for help from above. They have that feeling, they have that bhavna, they have that trust, they have that faith that yes, God is there and God is going to help me. That light is going to reach that soul, and that soul is going to experience Baba's intervention and a change happening within their situation, whether it's for the mind, whether it's for the body, whether it's for practical circumstances around them. Yesterday Baba reminded us, we are the children of the one who's merciful. And so it's not a question of, well, Sangam Yuga is fine, and I'm happy, I'm content, let Sangam Yuga carry on. I mean, especially in the days that Sakar Baba was there, everybody thought Baba's with us till the end of the Kalpa. And so nobody wanted the Kalpa to finish. Baba became Avyakt, but Baba gave us such wonderful instruments who served us and guided us and took care of us in such a beautiful way that again, this is a Murli from 2006. Dadiji is still around, not so active, but definitely still around. Many of the other Dadis are there. And so Baba's saying, Sangam Yuga is pleasant, it's very nice. But what about the rest of the world? You know, when the hurricane came to the Caribbean island, Puerto Rico, St. Martin, 90% of these islands were devastated. And in both places, Baba's homes safe, all of Baba's children safe. Amazing, Sangam Yuga, God's protection, even in a practical, physical way. But what about everybody else? 90% devastation. It's going to take years for recovery. Already these islands are not so rich, and so years and years of suffering ahead. An earthquake happens. Well, Baba's children have Baba, but what about everybody else? And so just see what's going on around in the world. And then Baba was saying, do you still want Kali Yuga to carry on? It's fine for me to say I want Sangam Yuga to carry on, but what about those who don't know about Sangam Yuga? And so this is why that Murli was very poignant, that just think about the suffering that other souls are going through. The Bhagats crying out for truth in a world that is post-truth, no more truth left at all truth gone. And so, what is it I need to do? A lot of Mansa Seva with the power of purity, because that level of critical mass that's going to be able to change things is going to happen through purity. Yoga power and purity power is going to allow the majority to begin to understand things differently and work in a different way. And so altruistic. Am I doing altruistic service when I do Mansa Seva? Or am I thinking about this celebrity, this national hero or that national heroine? If they come to Baba, they can do so much for Baba. No, that's not it. They need Baba. Baba doesn't need them. Big difference in thinking. Baba has to give them something then if they do something for Baba, well, that's their fortune. But it's not that we're doing Mansa Seva for that soul because we need them for service. No. Daddy's had several personal meetings with Prince Charles, and we don't publicize it because it's a very personal thing and it stays that way. But the very first time we were going for the personal meeting, before that meeting him in gatherings and whatever was different, and there were 3 of us in the car, including the driver, with Daddy, and we thought that we'd brief Daddy on what should be the topics for discussion with him. And we just wanted to let her know what he's going through, what's going on. And so we started telling Daddy this and this and this and this. And after about 10 minutes of listening to us, Daddy said, okay, I get the flavor, but don't give me any more detail. What I want us all to do is, as we continue on the journey, it was about another 30 minutes, I want us to stay in silence. And I want to just be with Baba, so that Baba's able to touch me, and Baba is able to give the soul what the soul needs. And so who am I approaching? And what is the purpose of my approaching them? Is it to be able to truly have Baba serve them? And what service can I do? But truly to have that awareness that Baba is able to give each and every soul whatever that soul needs. It doesn't matter about position or prestige or background or anything. That soul needs Baba. What is it that Baba can give them at this moment? Whether it's through my presence, whether it's through words, whether it's through practical action, they want a partnership in some project, you don't know. But whatever it is, if I keep my mind very clear and altruistic, Baba's going to be able to work through me and give that soul what the soul needs. And so, thoughts, words, if I've prepared something in my mind, this is the lecture I'm going to give them. This is the class I'm going to give them. Yes, of course, I understand that churning is important, but I also understand that after the churning, there has to be space in my own mind for silence to allow Baba to come in and then do whatever it is Baba needs to do. And so my words, my actions can be giving my skills, it can be giving my money, it can be giving my time, it can be whatever. But practical action. And then relationships. Whatever is the quality of relationship I've had with people before Gyan, now to that extent, I'm going to be able to serve them. If my relationship has been heavy, it's not going to be so easy to serve them. If my relationship has been acrimonious, it's going to be very difficult to serve them. And so, pre-Gyan will definitely create an atmosphere that makes it either easy or very challenging. And most times, when Lokik people have reacted to a person coming into Gyan, it's not because of Gyan, it's because of the existing quality of interaction and relationship that was there before. That is so. I've seen that through the years. People will come and say, oh, my parents don't like me being in Gyan. And of course it's a change, it's a challenge, it's new, it's different. It's many things that are very different. But ask them, well, what was your relationship like before Gyan? And the stories begin to come out. a husband and wife. My partner doesn't like me being celibate. Well, was there a relationship of love and respect before Gyan? And if there was, then that's the door open for communication. And to at least, even if they don't want to become a Brahmin, but at least they should respect your lifestyle as a Brahmin. So, when Baba says, serving through relationships, if things were not okay before Gyan, now with Baba's knowledge, I should be able to repair it and put it right. I can't ignore it and say, nothing to do with me. But Gyan tells me, charity begins at home. So home is here first. But also home is my immediate family. And so not to cut off, but to be able to serve them. Yesterday morning there was a very interesting comment from Baba. If things are too challenging and things are not working out, step aside. And the context that Baba was talking in was a little bit different. I was saying, if you see that this is an obstacle, this is a pothole, this is a mountain, so it would be very silly of you to walk along and jump into the pothole or to go and bash your head against the mountain, right? So what does Gyan say? Gyan says, find a way around it. You don't have to say, I have to keep walking here. There's a hole. Let me walk around it. So I see that there's a stumbling block somewhere. So Baba's not saying, step away from that person or step away from their sanskars in that way. I understand what's happening and I find a way around it. And so, relations. Let me serve relations, accumulate charity through that, but also then, those same relations, if they come into Gyan, fantastic, that's their fortune. If they don't come into Gyan, they will be an advertisement for Baba. They will be the people who tell others, this is good. What this person is doing has transformed them completely. It has great value. It has wonderful aspects. So they'll be the advertisers for Baba, whether they come to Baba or don't directly. And so serving through relationships, serving through connections, we all have so many contacts, different ways, different areas. Am I able to give them something of benefit from Baba? Think about the blessing every day. Think about the slogan every day. How can I adapt it to be able to serve souls in contact with me? There are different things happening around the world in so many places. Many places generate a thought for today. Even in England, I know that there's several going on, which is great. Much variety, it's beautiful. So if there's something ready-made, take it and use it and serve your connections. But if there isn't something that's completely appropriate, churn and find a way to be able to serve your connections. And they will then open more doors for you. And so, charity, unlimited, but also altruistic. This theme of altruism came in the Murli a few times, until of course, after many things in between, Baba reminded us of the combination lock. Baba's very modern. The key is not a key that you can lose, but it's a combination lock. And all you have to do is remember. And if you forget your combination, you're in trouble. But this combination lock is very simple. And sometimes I know that when people lock their suitcases, then this is the combination they use, 0, 0, 0. because it's the easiest to remember. And so it's the easiest to remember here. 0, 0, 0. Me and God and Rama. How quickly have I learned to put a full stop? It's ongoing practice, practice and more practice. You think you're managing quite well, and then something bigger than you comes. And in that moment you have to remember the line of the song that goes something like, don't say to God that the obstacles are big, say to the obstacles that God is bigger than you. It's a lovely Hindi song that came out a few years ago, and I'm sure you remember it. I'm sure you had that line translated for you. Drama keeps showing new scenes, things that I personally would never have imagined in Brahman life are the sorts of things that come your way. Because if you could imagine it, you could prepare for it, right? So then what's the big deal? You know what the examination paper is going to be, you've prepared for it, so of course you're going to pass. But the very fact that every step is a bigger and higher examination to be able to take you to the next grade, higher and higher and higher, of course it's going to be something that you could never have imagined. And literally, I'm finding those sorts of situations come up in front of me at the moment. Things that I could never have imagined. And so I'm learning how to put a full stop and to be able to pass. There was something very interesting yesterday, and I kept noticing it. The Bharatvasis kept clapping. Again and again and again. And it reminded me, and I began to notice that when Baba had said something very interesting like pass, 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 you heard Baba, then they responded by clapping. And another time when Baba said, on the one side it's your promise and on the other side it's the test. And the Hindi words rhyme. Pariksha, the test, and pratigya. So pratigya and pariksha. So it's like a poet. Baba's using poetry. Avyakt Baba uses a lot of poetry, and a lot of yesterday's Murli was rhyming words through the whole Murli. Batches of 3, batches of 2, rhyming. And the Bharatvasis were clapping. And I think they were appreciating it. There's also very much a system in Bharat that when there's a poet, then people are expected to respond. You don't just sit back and think, that was good. No, you show your appreciation. You say, wah, wah. And so it encourages the poet, and the poet goes on further. So Baba doesn't need encouragement, but it's a way that Bharatvasis, I suppose, want to respond in that way. So lots of clapping at odd places, in the sense that sometimes people clap when Baba's praising the children. And Baba's saying something very beautiful to the children, then everybody claps, appreciation of how much love Baba is giving them and how much appreciation Baba's giving them. But this time it was all the little rhymes that Baba was using that made them clap. So pass, pass and pass. Did anybody put up their hands out of this group when Baba was saying, who feels that they've passed fully? A few people. Interesting. And Baba commented on it afterwards that, well, yes, you can only really say that you've passed fully when you've reached your karmatit stage, your stage of completion. And until then, there'll be things. So on the one side, that faith, yes, I will pass. But on the other side, that awareness that, yes, I'm passing now, but what's the next step holding? What is it going to hold in front of me? And I don't know. But yes, the confidence, with Baba's help, I will pass. But Baba wants me to be aware of both sides. The humility, yes, there are things going to happen that were unexpected, but the confidence, yes, with Baba's help, I can pass. And so Baba reminded us, who's going to be able to reach that stage of contentment and pass fully? And again, Baba used 3 rhyming words in Hindi. Nimit, Nirman, Nischit. And Nimit, many of you know that word, instrument. Instrument consciousness is the total opposite of I consciousness. And of course, Baba said every time you use the word I, the soul. It's not something to say in words, because people get quite irritated with you. Imagine you're at work and you say, I, the soul. They'll really get quite upset with you. But even within the Brahman family, if I keep saying, I, the soul, it becomes a habit. Instead of actually thinking, I, the soul, it's like when you say Om Shanti. What's the difference between saying Om Shanti in words and really being Om Shanti and then saying Om Shanti? There's a difference. So I, the soul, can become a parrot repetition. But what Baba wants us is to have that awareness of I. Every time I think I, the soul. And it was interesting, Baba said, not even to have body consciousness in your dreams. When you see yourself in your dreams, how do you see yourself? Right? This particular form, this particular identity. And of course, it's so deeply ingrained in us, that's what's going to come. But that's the signal. When I practice being not just I, the point of light, but I'm here in the physical dimension, I'm doing all I need to do here. So am I able here to take on my costume of light? I'm here and I'm a soul, but I can take on my costume of light, and the association in the mind in a very deep way is with not the gross body, but the costume of light. And am I able to work with that costume of light through the day? And my identity has changed. And so when I see myself in my dreams, I'll see myself in a costume of light. And that will be proof that yes, truly, in my conscious life, I am soul conscious. I am practicing the things that Baba's wanting me to do. That's how deeply Baba wants me to change. So, Nimit, the instrument, no consciousness of I. Baba spent a long time talking about the burning of the tail of Mahavir, Hanuman. So when a monkey's tail is set on fire, it hurts. It hurts. And so the monkey's thumping the tail around, trying to put out the fire. But meanwhile, everything around him is burning. And meanwhile, the tail is also burning. And so, is it only through pain that we're going to be able to deal with ego finally? And a sign of ego, for sure, is pain. If I'm feeling unhappy, distressed, pain about something, nothing to do with you. It's my ego that's been hurt. And so I have to burn that ego. And I don't think it's only with pain. For Baba said volcanic yoga. Am I able to have such stability in my mind that it's a clear, direct link with God and no other thoughts, no wastage, and so that energy is able to set fire to all the things that still remain, that need to be burnt away to cleanse the soul and come to that stage where the final traces of ego go. And in that stage, yes, the humility, so nimit, just instrument consciousness, so humility. I know it's Baba who's working on me, I know it's Baba who's getting everything done, not just in words, but deep inside in my heart and my feeling. And truly, none of this could have happened without Baba. How could it have happened otherwise? The history of Madhuban, the history of every country, the history of every city, the history of every project, it could not have happened if it was just human beings. It's God, it really is. And so, humility, when I see how amazing God's work is, it makes me very humble. And to know that, yes, I've played a part in it and it's been my fortune, for that really is amazing fortune, but not me. And so, instrument, humility, and then certainty. Nischit, it's fixed, it's destined within the drama. Victory has to happen, and victory for us personally, Baba's saying that it's guaranteed. Just have that faith, that determination, and all the other things that Baba mentioned. And yes, definitely, victory is guaranteed. It's fixed in the drama. So one is to believe in my own personal victory, and that's going to give me a lot of hope and courage, but also to know that God's task is going to reach its completion. People cooperate, people don't cooperate, people are here today, gone tomorrow, gone away on holiday, doesn't matter. God's work isn't going to stop for anyone. When Baba became Avyakt, 400 centers. What happened after that? Baba's message reached across the world. Dadi Prakash Mani became Avyakt. Again, big question, how is the yajna going to function? Because everybody had got so used to Dadiji being at the helm, and Dadi Jayanti, completely different personality, completely different style of management, everything different. But Baba's work has expanded and flourished even further. What next? Revelation. Definitely, that's what's to happen. The Dadis are here now. Where will they be tomorrow? Don't know. Somebody wants to invite Dadi for something for January next year. And normally Dadi's response to such things is, well, who knows what tomorrow brings? That's her favorite expression that I've heard for 60 years. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? So she doesn't make plans in that way. She lets God plan for her and follows his plan. But this time, to my surprise, I heard Hansa say, well, January's a long way. Each day is different. So let's see if Dadi can come a bit earlier. So she's saying that now. But of course, living with Dadi and just seeing no sleep through the night, and then in the morning, suddenly you hear, Dadi's reading Murli in class. 101 and she's reading Murli in class? That anyway is stunning. But the fact that she's not slept all night and then she's reading Murli in class, that's even more stunning. So with the Dadis you never know, but that's okay. It's the Rudra Gyan Yajna. Rudra is the name given to Shiva. It's Shiv Baba's Yajna, the sacrificial fire in which we have to offer the sacrifice of the horse, the consciousness of the body, the ego, the tail, call it what you will. But when we've sacrificed the final bits of that into the sacrificial fire, then yes, revelation, but also then transformation. The world will be transformed, and the new world has a chance to come. While we are still hanging on to our old skins, we're not letting go of our skin. The old world is hanging on by its nails, by its claws, but it's still hanging on in there. And so everything's waiting for the Brahmins. Baba's waiting for us. And I'm sure Baba's going to start giving us signals of time. But I think that just drama and the events of the world are giving us big signals. So there's a lot more in the Murli, but I recommend that you read it again and take everything that Baba wants you to take, but especially take the blessings of contentment and fortune, because that'll make life very easy and sweet. Om Shanti. We're going to have meditation now, and there'll be a short commentary just for a few minutes at the beginning, and then silence.
So